Alright, so as we can see, we've got our completed list name, and we had 70 streets, and we had 400 results from those streets. So it's a small town, but that pretty much got just about everybody. Now this is going to be the basis for our next query. So we're going to go ahead and make a new query, and we're going to name it Runge Names. And you can name yours whatever you want to. I usually differentiate mine from streets and names so I know which one is which. And once the search is done, I deselect it so I can't select it in my macro again, so I know which one's which. So now I'm on Runge Names, and I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. I'm going to select all of my names, drag and drop. Now I've got my next query set up. And so what we're going to do is we're going to have to make a new scraper. Now this is going to be the level 2 scraper for actual names. So what we want to do is we want to go to page, and you can just pick any of the people. It doesn't really make any difference, just as long as we have the right information. Then you're going to go to scrapers, and we're going to deselect the name page, and we're going to make a new generic name scraper. So we're going to double click on that to open it up. And so what we're going to want is the name, the street, and the city we can split off, so we don't really have to have a city. So name, street, phone, and age is what we're going to collect. So what we're going to do is we're going to come on down to where the person's name is, right here. And then we're going to need to select the information for his name. Alright, and so we're going to do the exact same thing in selecting all of this. And you can see this is kind of, you can select more than you need, so you can select all of this all the way up to his name, and copy and paste, which is the same thing. And then right after it, you can select his name. I usually start right after the last of the name. Click your left button and then drag it until you get back over to the end of the next deal. Copy and paste, which is the same thing. So this code hasn't really changed, but they do change the code every once in a while just to stop people from doing what we're doing here. So then what you're going to want to do is get the street, and so then you'll just all these will be open. Is so when you start it, you'll name it, and then you'll get the code front and back. Now for the street, you see how they've got it lined up. It's on two different levels, so we want the address separate from the city zip. And so to do that, what we do is we do a separator. And so what our separator is basically we're going to come up here right after the street address and select all the way up to the city. We're going to copy it. We're going to come in here to separator and paste it, which I don't know what all this stuff is, but we'll go ahead and paste it again and hit return. So you can see here that that little arrow looking thing is a return, so that uses it as a separator. So it gets one line for the address and the city zip, but that separator, what it does is it'll split it into two different deals. So it'll be street 1 and street 2 in your spreadsheet when it's collecting the information. Now we need to go ahead and do the same thing with our phone line. Get our single result phone line, landline, and then the after. You can select everything up to the P, and then of course you want to get the. You don't really need the associated because it gets everybody's names, including all the rest that are on this list right here. So we don't really need that. It just takes up too much space on the spreadsheet. And usually they'll have an age deal on here, but I don't see where they put the age. Some of them, if it doesn't have an age, then it'll just skip it, so it really doesn't matter. But you really probably want to get one with an age, because then it gives you more information about that person. So you can do copy this code here, strong, age, strong, and then these are uh, what are those spaces, and then a P. So that'll let you get that, or you can just find one that has an age and just copy it and paste it like the rest of this information. Alright, so what you want to do is you want to hit save to save that name scraper, and then just for the fun of it, let's go ahead and empty our catch and try it out just to make sure that it works. So we can see here it gets it twice, but just like the same thing, it'll go ahead and take that out when we do our macro. Alright, so again, what we want to do is we want to go to macros, make sure we save our level 1 names, and then go back to manage macros, and now we'll go to level 2 names, make our level 2 names, and then we want to select the query, so that's going to be Runge names, and you don't want any browsing whatsoever because these are all individual pages, and it's just going to go one right to the next one, and if we don't have any browsing then it goes much faster. We want to empty before macro execution the export catch. Then what we want to do is, since we're going to save this, I'm going to change this up just a little bit. We're going to export, and we're going to do Excel. And so what this is going to do is it's going to, when the whole thing is done and your catch is full, what it'll do is it'll actually save this file to your computer as an Excel spreadsheet. Then you want to go over here to the destination file, and you want to click on this, and we're going to, let's see, desktop, where is it, telephone, Quero, and we'll just make a new folder for territory, and that'll be the selected deal for that. And so we'll just open that, and so it's going to save it into this file as a spreadsheet for this town. So we'll have one for each town, or if you've got one big town then you'll have multiples for that town, and I just do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you know, and go down the list. Now down here at the bottom, you're going to want scraped again, empty, clean text, keep order, deduplicate, so it makes everything nice and pretty. But then over here I've got this, you don't need Excel. If you do that, what it does is it actually exports about 3 or 4 of the same person. So you want it to just do one of each person. It makes things a lot easier. But you do want to have the destination as the catch. So then when the catch is done, then it sends it to the Excel spreadsheet. Alright, so we want to go up here and we want to save this. And of course you're going to need for each query that you have for names, you're going to have a separate macro. So what we're going to do is you can go back to manage macros, and you can do level 2 names or whatever your level 2 is. You can just hit duplicate however many times you need and then just rename them, and then go into each one and pick the query that you want for each of those. So there's one for each group that you're doing. Then you just save each one of them, go back to manage macros, you hit properties if you want to change the name of it or whatever. So once you have all those lined out, now what we can do is we can take these and actually make a job out of them. What that lets us do is if we have multiple, we can get all these together at one time. See, with the level 1 names, you can't really do it this way. You have to do one each time because you're making a query. Now that's something that they're going to be changing here in about a month on the program, where it'll actually let you scrape and then drop the results into another query so that you can actually do what we're doing now and turn them into jobs and do them all at one time. But for now, you have to do them one at a time. But with the level 2 names, since these are final results, we don't have to do that, and we can schedule them all at the same time. So by doing that, we go to jobs. And what we want to do is we want to make a job. So this first job is going to be Runge, and it's going to execute level 2 names macro. And it'll actually have a list of all the macros that you've done, just like it did for the macro for the scrapers that we were, or the queries that we were using. Now remember, whatever the job name is, that's what it's going to save the spreadsheet as. So you want to make sure that you want it the way you have it. So then you can set your start time. Now what I would recommend is just doing one, so it shows what your start time is. You can do start in 1 minute, save, and go from there, uh, and let it run. And then when you get your results, you see when it stopped. It'll tell you when it stopped. Then you take that time, find out how many minutes it is, divide it by seconds. So you find out how many seconds the whole job took. Then you go back to your queries to find out how many people you had. So this one had 400. So we can take the seconds and divide it by 400 to see how many seconds each job or each name took. Mine's been running about 5 or 6 seconds. So what you do is you can set each group to start on, and you know how long it takes for each one. You can give it 6, 7 seconds per name, and then stage them so that when one's done, the next one starts. Hopefully in the future they'll do it so that it just goes right down the list. That would be much easier, but maybe that's a future deal. But for now, you just have to figure out how much time it takes, or you can just do one, come back when it stops, and do the next one. Either way you want to do it. You shouldn't have too many, maybe about 5 or 6 groups, maybe more if you have more cities. So anyways, you've got this done. We want to start in 1 minute, and then we're going to create that job. And so this job is set up. It's going to start in, let's see, we'll start that in 1 minute and save that. And so here in about a minute, what it's going to do is it's going to kick the job off automatically. Let's see, it's 12:27, so it's scheduled for 12:28. So here in just a little bit, this thing will start, and what it'll do is it'll get all of our information, drop it into the catch, and then spit it out into a spreadsheet. Now in the next video, what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to use the spreadsheets in order to put them all together into one spreadsheet, how to format it, and then how to turn it into a telephone territory, actually a telephone directory.